Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today we'll be embarking on an exciting new journey in comic reading as I tackle Who's Who in the DC Universe, starting with issue 1. Very excited. As folks who followed my channel know, I've extensively covered the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. I've even done a comparison video of Who's Who and a random issue of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. As we go through this occasional series, all the way from number 1 to number 24 of Who's Who, you'll see, especially in comparison to my official handbook videos from Marvel, that these are two very different animals. And you can go back on my channel and look at one of my early videos comparing the two to get a real side-by-side look. But like the official handbook, every issue of Who's Who features a dynamic wraparound cover. I would argue that the covers of Who's Who are superior to that of the official handbook, mainly because they're the handiwork of George Perez and they're pretty awesome. And the characters are interacting with each other more on these covers than they are on the official handbook covers, where you just have the occasional interaction. It's very cool. Every cover kind of tells a little story in a way. As you can see, the characters sort of interacting with each other in little vignettes. Very neat. Just brilliant work from George Perez here. This was published in 1984 by DC Comics, and we're going to see in the front piece writer-editor Len Wein discusses some of the tenets behind this series, and we're going to get right to that in a moment. It retailed for $1. Of course, I got these in $1 bins, and that is my goal. I haven't tracked down all 24 issues yet, but I'm working my way through various Pittsburgh comic book shop area dollar bins to find them. I've made good progress, so it'll be an ongoing hunt, and I love that sort of thing. So yeah, cover date of March 85, but we'll see in the indicia it's a 1984 publication. This issue covers Abel to Auron. Okay, so we're well into the A's here by the end of the issue. I'll read the first paragraph on the inside front piece, and then I'll get into a couple other little things that I think are interesting. This is from writer-editor Len Wein. Welcome to the first issue of Who's Who, the definitive directory of the DC Universe, a 24-volume compendium of the various people, powers, and places which have been presented to you during DC Comics' first 50 years. So what a history, 50 years. Following along here, I'm not going to read this whole thing. We will give you the backgrounds, origins, powers, and other pertinent information regarding these people and places, but we will endeavor not to create new information solely for the directory. We will tell you all we can about what is already known about these characters, and let our talented writers and artists fill in any gaps in upcoming stories. In other words, what is already known, we will reveal. What is currently unknown will remain so. We will define superpowers up to a point, but quite honestly, half the fun of reading comics is arguing who is stronger, who is faster, and who is more powerful. Superman and Wonder Girl both possess super strength, but we'll leave it to you to decide for yourself who is stronger. So no strength in tons ratings here. No strength level box, nothing like that for the Who's Who. It's a little more speculative in that sense, and so that's fun. I like how they've differentiated themselves, and I think I said this in my comparison video last year. They've differentiated themselves from the official handbook in that aspect, and I think that's fine. So let's dive in here. I'll add also that Marv Wolfman is listed as the writer, consulting editor. Robert Greenberger, longtime Suicide Squad editor, is listed as an associate editor. Peter Sanderson shows his name here, a name we know well from the official handbook. And E. Nelson Bridwell, they're researchers. Todd Klein, the famous letterer, does production. And then a host of other folks are involved. So we start out with Abel. This is a character from House of Secrets, first appeared in House of Secrets number 61. Of course, they list the height and weights of all the characters. I won't get into those really unless they're super pertinent. He is 5'7", 396 and a quarter pounds. I'm not sure why they felt the need to get so specific. They won't list the strength level, but they will tell you the weight of a character down to the quarter pound, which is strange. Unless maybe someone in the comments can tell me that the pertinence of that number. The art in these issues is pretty awesome. They usually try to grab an artist who's more associated with the character. This is done by Joe Orlando. And what's neat is you have the character in the foreground, and then you have a gorgeous unicolor background illustration, which is really cool. It usually is some kind of montage or a scene or something related to the character. So from House of Secrets, we kind of have a spooky scene in the background. This little creature here, who I believe appeared in many of the introductory segments in House of Secrets. And it's cool that he has Who's Who on his book here. A devout coward, Abel possesses no powers save for the vivid imagination and a gift for telling stories that could chill the spine of a corpse. And it goes on. So he's listed as a caregiver. That's his occupation. Abnegazar, Wrath, and Ghast. This funny name actually makes me want to flip back to the front piece and give you another pretty awesome feature of this title. They have a pronunciation glossary for every character, which is really cool. So his funny name on that second entry is pronounced Abnegazar. Abnegazar. So that's really neat. Very helpful for those words, character names that are really a mouthful. So these guys first appeared in Justice League of America number 10. A billion years ago, Abnegazar, Roth, and Gazet inhabited Earth, using their magical powers to spread evil over the planet's pre-human population. And it goes on. This is great art by Craig Hamilton and Dick Giordano. Really cool stuff here. I love that blue background. The blue background illustrations are really neat. All three demons appear to have identical powers, including the ability to create a variety of matter, such as their magical talismans, produce force bolts of destructive power, animate standing objects, and fly through time and space. They are susceptible to other forms of magic. So very cool. Abracadabra. Let's see. First appearance, Flash 128. And he is drawn by Carmine Infantino and Frank McLaughlin. Carmine Infantino is a character or an artist who is really, really closely associated with the Flash. Kadabra uses 64th century science, specifically in the areas of teleportation, telepathy, and telekinesis, the science of mind over matter, to perform acts which seem truly magical. So, pretty cool character. And we have Adam Strange, storied character in the DC Universe. First appearance, Showcase number 17. And this is art by Carmine Infantino and Murphy Anderson. Very nice. He's a gadget character. He doesn't really have any powers. Next up is Aegeus. First appearance, Wonder Woman 297, art by Don Heck. So he's a more recent character relative to the publication of this book. A Greek national, Niles Aegeus, was planning terrorist activities when he and his band met Bellerophon, whom Athena had given a magic bridle to tame the winged stallion Pegasus. And it goes on to describe his origin. Aegeus flies Pegasus, a winged horse capable of attaining great speeds. It is outfitted with a magical bow and arrows in the shape of thunderbolts that can be vastly destructive. So he has magical gadgets. Nice art here by Don Heck, too. It's cool. It's neat that the artist gets to draw the main figure and then gets to construct this, in this case here, kind of a montage sequence showing the character doing their thing, which I think it's a nice departure from the official handbook's use of actual panels, which is cool too. I love those, but this is This is kind of a different presentation, and I appreciate it. Here we have our first split entry, which we'll see occasionally through the series when you have characters who are maybe have fewer appearances or of less importance, or they may be linked to each other. So here we have Airwave, first appeared Detective Comics number 66. And this is the other Airwave who first appeared in Green Lantern 106. So this is a case here of you have your Golden Age version and your Silver Age version of the character. Let's see. So this one is done by Alex Saviuk and Dick Giordano. I really like this classic Alex Saviuk artwork here. The line work is very much a sort of a classic DC style. Even though he had a super long run on Web of Spider-Man, Alex Saviuk also worked quite a bit for DC Comics. I think also doing either DC Comics Presents maybe, or some Action Comics. I'm not sure. You're going to see, folks, that my command of DC history is far less confident and informed than of Marvel history in the Bronze Age. And I love DC, I do. But I would, if I had to describe myself, if I had to put a percentage on it, I'm probably 60-40 Marvel. So my knowledge is a little less on DC, and so forgive me, and please, if you want to fire a correction or an additional bit of information into the comments, that would also be helpful. Jordan designed a special belt coupled with special antennae that used radio waves. At first, he could simply tap into any radio wave, listening to conversations from phone lines or broadcast stations. In time, he added a microphone to project his voice through the radio waves. And the second Airwave actually had more of energy-related powers where he could transform. And this is from Captain Carrot, this awesome character, Alley Cat Abra, drawn by Scott Shaw. Really cool. First appearance, New Teen Titans number 16. Height, 2 feet, weight, 35 pounds. I love this artwork. I really need to grab a run of Captain Carrot and the Zoo Crew and give it a read because I bet it's hilarious. And here we have an incredible 2-page team entry on the All-Star Squadron. Totally awesome group of characters, and it's done by none other than Jerry Ordway, who's still getting it done in comics. You can follow him online on his social media. He's just totally awesome. And this is him literally at the height of his powers. I mean, this is just incredible. I love Amazing Man. Just a great group of characters. Those All-Star Squadrons can be readily obtained from dollar bins. And man, you get, for $1, you really get your money's worth. Roy Thomas crushes those stories. Each story is packed to the gills. Very similar to ARAC. Each story is packed to the gills with information, action, really good stuff. And here's a great entry on their headquarters, the All-Star Squadron headquarters, with art by Marshall Rogers, aka the Perisphere, giant hollow sphere, 200 feet in diameter, built for the 1939-40 New York World's Fair, renovated by the All-Stars. Let's see. Next to it, the 610-foot Trilon, also built for the fair, altered to house their aircraft. Okay, that's cool. Really great. I love these cutaway drawings. They do a nice job, very similar to Marvel, in showing you like the bases of operations. And again, I'll point out, if you're a superhero tabletop RPG fan, these are invaluable resources. Here we have, I just mentioned him, Amazing Man. Love this character. Art by Jerry Ordway. Extremely gorgeous entry here on Amazing Man. A really cool character. Will Everett. First appearance, All-Star Squadron number 23. Everett has the ability to absorb organic material and thus transform himself into a living, breathing, mobile facsimile of that material. He's very much like Absorbing Man, so he's cool, powerful, and I love that costume. I don't know if they ever did a good hero clicks for him or not. I have to look that up. Amazo, the super android designed to battle Superman. First appearance, Brave and the Bold, number 30. 8 feet tall, 485 pounds. Amazo's unique absorption cells allow him to replicate the powers of every super-powered being he encounters. So he's a lot like the Super Adaptoid. Very cool character. Here we have Ambush Bug from the great Keith Giffen. Rest in peace, Keith. Recently passed away at the recording of this video. Very sad. Ambush Bug first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 52. And this is Giffen's more experimental style, which he flirted with in the late 80s, early 90s. Very cool stuff. Ambush Bug was a comedy character I was never super interested in. I would categorize him in the Marvel Comics Impossible Man category. Whenever a story with Impossible Man or Ambush Bug shows up, I usually skip it. Not that interested in those characters or what they bring to the table. Amethyst, Princess of Gemworld. Oh, I fell in love with Amethyst as a kid when I got Legion of Superheroes 298, which had the preview pullout showing the first Amethyst story. Gorgeous artwork by Amethyst artist Ernie Colon for this entry. Really cool. Yeah, and here it is. First appearance, Legion of Superheroes 298. And Amethyst has a host of magical powers. Amy Winston is her real name. And she has this sort of shtick where in our world, she's a preteen. And then in the magic world, she's, I think, 10 years older. And as a grown woman, she possesses her magical powers. They're pretty cool. Here we have another split entry. Down the left column, we have Angleman, who I always thought was really cool in Secret Society of Supervillains. Real name, Angelo Bend. Occupation, professional criminal. First appearance, Wonder Woman number 70. So he is, I guess, a Wonder Woman villain. Angleman wields the awesome Angler, a triangular device which opens spatial portals, allowing the devious Deceptor to warp his way through space. Pretty cool. Art by Jose Delbo and Romeo Tongal. So it's cool. They give them so little room here. It's just this little corner, but they obviously this was drawn at a larger size and then shrunken down, but it looks great here in this little corner. We get a main shot of Angleman, and then we get just a little taste of a montage or a collage here behind him in that gorgeous mauve ink. Really nice. And then we have Animal Man, very great character. Buddy Baker, who was transformed into an extremely interesting and edgy character by Grant Morrison and Chas Truog in their long run, which featured those incredible Brian Boland covers. This artwork is by Gil Kane, really great classic Gil Kane. Really awesome at depicting action here. I love it. First appearance, Strange Adventures 180. While near any animal, Buddy Baker somehow absorbs its special abilities. He can fly like a bird, swim like a fish. He can race as fast as a jaguar or hop like a kangaroo. The longer Animal Man is in the presence of an animal, the longer he retains his natural powers. Very cool. Next up is Anthro. Let's see. First appearance, Showcase, number 74. And he's just an ordinary caveman. Drawn by Howie Post, which is cool. A little bit of a Joe Kubert vibe there. I'm sure Howie Post is a famous cartoonist who I'm just ignorant of his long list of accomplishments in the field, but looks really great here. That's a lovely entry on Apocalypse by Greg Thixton. I guess at this point Kirby was sort of in retirement and they couldn't maybe get him to do this entry, or maybe he didn't want to. But Greg Thixton, who's a longtime Kirby inker and Kirby associate, does a great job here channeling the Kirby for this entry on Apocalypse. Very cool. First appearance, New Gods number 1. So I love the little bubbles that show the different areas. Very cool. So here we have Aqua Lad and Aqua Girl, both drawn by the inimitable George Perez. Just gorgeous, gorgeous artwork here, as they are Teen Titans characters. And I should point out too that these early Who's Who's, they're still, like Marvel was at this time, trying to work with that flexographic printing process, which is a new process. So you can see here some color bleed on Aqualad's legs and Aquagirl's skin. It almost looks like they have rosacea or some other skin condition. So yeah, that's a process that they're going to have to work on. And I think they do over the course of the 24 issues perfect it to the extent that it can be perfected. I have mixed feelings about the flexographic process. I think at times it got some vivid colors, but they hadn't mastered it, so it ruined a lot of good stories, or at least marred them. Aqualad's first appearance is Adventure Comics 269. And let's see, Aquagirl's first appearance is Aquaman number 33. Her real name is Tula, and Aqualad is Garth. And they both possess powers very similar to Aquaman. Like all Atlanteans, Garth breathes underwater, withstands its tremendous undersea pressures, swims at extreme speeds, and telepathically communicates with underwater life. Aqualad can remain out of the water for only 1 hour. So you have to intuit from that these two have superhuman strength, which we'll get to here in a second with our entry on Aquaman, beautifully drawn by Chuck Patton and Dick Giordano. Love Chuck Patton's artwork in the 80s. He was totally great. He had a great run on Justice League when, in fact, Aquaman was the leader of the team for a little while. It was pretty cool. Real name, Arthur Curry. Occupation, ex-king of Atlantis, now professional crime fighter. 6'1", 325 pounds. Aquaman's greatest ability is his telepathic mastery over all the sea's inhabitants. His body is also more dense than that of a normal human, enabling him to survive the awesome pressure of the deep, as well as the extreme changes in temperature. This density gives him superior strength on land, and he is also skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Underwater, his swimming speed is in excess of 100 miles per hour. That's as close as they're going to get to nailing down someone's powers. In this specific area, his swimming speed, they give you kind of a starting point. Then it goes on to talk about how he's unable to remain on water. Here's a cool hint here at his superhuman strength as you see him smashing this underwater rock outcropping here. Very cool. I love this collage or montage sequence here. Great use of him using his telepathic powers to control sea life. Here we have the aforementioned Arak, Son of Thunder. Love it. This is another Ernie Kalan entry. This is cool. I like here how in this entry we have, of course, our central figure of Arak, and then Ernie has chosen to show a member of the members of his supporting cast, Valda and Maliki the Magician, Maligi I think his name was, and then the name of the satyr is escaping me, and then a couple of action shots. Here he is being fished out of the water by Vikings. That's part of his origin. He's 6 feet, 190. First appearance, Warlord number 48. I think that was in a backup story. Very cool. I love Arak. You will not find a cooler 50-ish, tidier 50-issue run of a character. His series went from issue 1 to issue 50 with, I think, 1 or 2 annuals, maybe 1 annual, and it's tied up so beautifully and emotionally at the end. It's really worth the payoff. And again, you can find them in dollar bins, so they're not very hard to track down. I imagine they'll do an omnibus of Arak at some point. I wish they would do a couple of their better, like, smaller hardcovers with that Baxter-like paper because, again, I'm not a fan of omnibuses. On to Arcane. Awesome artwork by Steve Bissett and John Totleben, as by this time Arcane was a Swamp Thing character. First appearance, Swamp Thing number 2. So, yeah, he always was a Swamp Thing character. Really cool. Yeah. Just a lot of body horror going on here. Really neat stuff. Arion, Lord of Atlantis. First appearance, Warlord number 55. So another character who debuted in Warlord like Arak is Arion. And he is from the time before Atlantis sunk beneath the waves. So he's one of those DC sort of quasi-historical characters, if you want to call them that. So it was kind of a sword and sorcery title, but very high magic. And what was really cool was Arion showed up in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was great. So he was always tied to the DC universe in that way. So very cool. Art by Jan Duursema, who was a longtime Arion artist. Arion's magical abilities have been severely limited over time. After wielding great and almost limitless power, Arion is now forced to tap a source of energy to perform magic. So they kind of limited his powers, I guess. Cool, too. I love how they got the logo from his comic on here, too. And I think I had pointed that out before, but that's probably something that occurs more than once through the course of the series. If you have your own title, they'll probably use the logo from that title for your page. Yeah, different from, again, official handbook. They're using different fonts all over this. The main body text is all the same, but the title fonts are different, which is neat. Here's an Arkham Asylum entry by Steve Bissette and John Totleben. Very appropriate artists for this. And again, you get this awesome layout of Arkham. If you're role-playing, this is gold right here. And the first appearance of Arkham, is it listed in here? It would be nice if it was, but I don't actually see it listed. Interesting. Yeah. They listed the first appearance of Apocalypse, but not for this one. It's possibly an oversight. Atari Force, loved these characters, read this as a kid. It was totally great. Here we have artwork by Eduardo Barreto, who's fantastic, but I also associate these characters with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who I think may have designed some of them. But Ed Barreto did a lot of work on, I think, a 20-issue series that I think Atari Force went about 20 issues. Really cool. And it's cool that they show the originals from the comic that you actually got. You got the mini comics and the Atari games. I had those as a kid. They were totally great. And then they carried forward with a very neat sci-fi universe in the ongoing series. Really cool sci-fi stuff. And again, I'm like a broken record, folks. You can get these issues in dollar bins. They're out there, easy to find and track down. Here we have a very cool entry on Atlantis by Marshall Rogers. Look at this gorgeous 2-page entry on Atlantis here. Love the colors here. Very nice. We have our two Adams, the Golden Age and Silver Age Adams. We have Golden Age Adam, Al Pratt, who I loved. First appearance, All-American Comics number 19. Powers and weapons. Super strength, incredible agility, and great boxing skills are the Adam's main abilities. He didn't always have super strength. In his short pants version, his wrestling signet version, he was just kind of an athlete. But then he battles Cyclotron, gets exposed to nuclear energy, and develops super strength, which is aptly shown here. This is gorgeous artwork by Rick Hoberg and Romeo Tanghal. I would almost be tempted to say it was Jerry Ordway just looking at it, but Rick Hoberg is doing an awesome job here. And then Silver Age Adam, Ray Palmer, who's equally cool. I should point out, Al Pratt is 5'1", 150 pounds. So, yeah, he's the Adam for a reason. He's a short dude. But this version of the Adam, Ray Palmer, of course, can shrink down in size to the atomic level if he wishes to go that far. Gorgeous artwork by Gil Kane. And we get a little bit of Sword of the Atom here. I love that limited series. When I was a kid, it was totally awesome, taking the Atom and putting him in completely unfamiliar surroundings, almost divorcing him from his superhero trappings and trapping him at his, I think, 3-inch or 6-inch height. Very cool stuff. And then here's him in his more classic uniform. Really neat. Atomic Knight. First appearance, Strange Adventures 117. And this is art by Murphy Anderson. His armor gives him a number of powers. Plus he has, as a result of being trapped in the tank, He can now predict the future, although many people do not always take his predictions seriously. So he's got these cool powers related to his outfit, and he also is a precog, which is pretty neat. Atomic Skull, classic Superman villain, first appearance, Superman 323. And this is Curt Swan and Murphy Anderson. You cannot find two artists more associated with a character like Superman than Curt Swan and Murphy Anderson. Really cool. And Atomic Skull can shoot blasts of power that can make even Superman pause, as seen here. Really neat stuff. And then lastly, we have Auron, who first appeared in Green Lantern 141. I think he's a character really associated with the Omega Men. Kidnapped by the alien Cyrons, the Okaran woman Exhal was forced to take part in her insidious experiment in genetics and was mated with a brutal Branks warrior in the hope of creating an entirely new species of their offspring. Oh, that is very dark. So Auron is their son. He's the son of this unfortunate experiment. Auron is possessed of almost godlike powers which have yet to be fully tested. So he's got all kinds of energy and space-related powers. Art by Todd Smith and Rick Magyar. Really nice artwork here. I love Rick Magyar's inks. He's very underrated. Should be mentioned more. And then the inside back cover is basically an advertisement for... actually, no, it's not. Let's take a look. This is not just an advertisement. They take each character who appeared in the issue and tell you where you might find them in the comics if possible. Abracadabra returns to fight the Flash in issue 348. Adam Strange will appear in the forthcoming issue of DC Comics Presents, and on and on and on. So that's cool. That's a neat feature. I like that. I will see if that continues through the series, because as a kid reading this, I don't remember if it did or not. So yeah. So that is our initial foray into who's who in the DC universe. Really cool. I'm glad you joined me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.